Down there, fine. Good morning. Welcome to P.O.W.E.R 2022 from the Capital Region Airport Commission, also known as your Richmond International Airport. My name is Russ Peden. I'm the Director of Properties and Concessions. And on the airport, I want to welcome you all here today. We're going to get started momentarily. If you happen to, if just a couple of things I wanted to bring up. If you haven't put your business card in the basket, please do so. We've got a nice selection of prizes that we'll be pulling out of the basket later today in the networking hall later this morning. So if you haven't had a chance to drop a card in the basket, please do so. What I want to do now is I want to, again, give the opportunity to our leadership from the Airport Commission, and I'm going to invite our chairman of our Airport Commission Board, Mr. Hazard, to the podium, along with Mr. Miller, our CEO, for opening remarks.
Good morning. Thank you all for being here today. It is a great honor to serve as chairman of the Capital Region Airport Commission, and it's an even greater honor to see such a good turnout for our P.O.W.E.R presentation. The opportunities here at the airport are manifest, and as a contractor myself, I just want to let you know that the issues that you sometimes deal with as both a sub and a general about getting paid and the changes that are suddenly dumped on you, I don't think you have to deal with here. We lay out the rules at the beginning. They're set there for you so that you understand what you're going to do, and whether you're a vendor or a subcontractor or any phase of it, I think, I know as the commission, we want to make sure you're treated like you should be treated. So I think that's very important for you to understand as we go forward. We're very proud of what this airport does and represents. We are, I tell our other board members all the time, we are a perfect example of what regional cooperation looks like, because we're represented by all the area, not just one. And so I hope that you get this message clear, that I'll just say this: if you don't put your name in the hat, you probably won't get your toe in the door. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Miller and let him tell you a little more about the details. But again, I want to thank you all for being here today, and good luck with working with us. And I look forward to seeing your faces around the airport. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Hazard, and thank you for your leadership. Thank you all for being here. So our strategic mission is to move people, business, and commerce to advance the Richmond region. So the theme, Power Together, reflects our strategic mission to advance the Richmond region. So I'm hopeful today that our discussion will lead to you developing a comprehensive understanding of what we do, and more importantly, how we do it, in an effort to achieve our goals. And to that end, our goal is to ensure that that you are aware that there are opportunities here within the airport environment, and that we're advancing the Richmond region by promoting economic development, more importantly, by promoting the maximization of contracting opportunities to diverse businesses. So I hope that you get all that we intend for you to get out of here. And if you don't, Russ Peden, where is he, is the one to contact. No, in all seriousness, thank you all for being here, and I welcome you to this event, and I hope that it is fruitful and that you will help me advance the Richmond region through contracting opportunities for diverse companies. Thank you, Russ.
Perry Miller, thank you very much. As Perry said, this is an opportunity to, I think you're going to, if you open mind to look at what's happening today, we have brought, I think, close to 20 companies that are going to be here today that represent not only the Airport Commission, but the partners who make up the airport. And I can't emphasize that enough. When you look at what's going on at the airport, people sometimes just think about the airport and they go, oh, okay, that's it. But they don't realize what all is there. There's I call it a treasure trove of businesses that are doing good things at the airport, not only from the airlines to the rental cars to the food and beverage, gift and news, concessions, government entities. They're all there, and they all have something they need. They need help from the supplier community. They need help from the labor community, and they do business with that. And so it's an opportunity for you today to network, to hear about what we're doing, how the airport does business, and to ultimately, I think the most valuable part of the day is the last hour and a half, is an opportunity to go into our networking hall and talk to these companies and have interface and just really just get to know who they are, what they're doing, and what they're looking for. Let me back up a second here. I want to kind of outline the day. If you haven't seen in the booklet today, the agenda for the day, it's really, we're going to talk about airport, how we buy things, what we do, how we interact with the community. I've got an opportunity to, we're going to talk about our capital improvement program. I know there's a lot of interest in what we're doing in next year and the year, couple years ahead, what we're doing with the money that's been, that we've applied for and received from the federal government, how that's going to be used, and we'll be talking about that a little bit. I've got a variety of speakers today, and I want to just outline. The first one will be our guest speaker with Daryl Daniels. He's, you'll find it very insightful. We'll also have something we've never tried before, is a moderated panel. I've got a lot of partners who have worked with the airport over time, and I wanted them to share their insights with you all. an opportunity to hear from our airport concession folks. I think you'll learn a little bit there. And then we have, obviously, our networking hall. And something we've never done this time, or this program, is to bring in a relationship we have with the Small Business Administration. And that's an opportunity, we know, hearing from folks talking about barriers to entry, barriers from small businesses to get into the airport, to get into contracting opportunities. And so I thought, let's bring some folks in from the Small Business Administration and I can talk about, in a sort of a lecture standalone format next door, we've got basically a classroom set up. So we hope to hear, we've got about a half an hour with Forward Scott and Chris Hairston White talking about the Small Business Administration and what they can do and how they can help out. So that's something we've never tried. We hope that's going to be successful today, and look forward to that. And then lastly, our networking. So that's a Power Pack day or Power Pack morning. We've got a lot focused in a couple hours, so hopefully you get the most out of it. We've got, I think, a record-sized crowd for the day. I'm very happy with that, with hopefully, and again, it's, as Mr. Miller said and Mr. Hazard said, taking advantage of the opportunities here. And I'll go ahead and lead us off with how we do business at the airport. Really, we are a decentralized purchasing operation. So basically, you're going to the buyers. They're making their own plans. They have their budgets, and they're dealing with you all through various processes. But it's a decentralized process. We don't have a central purchasing office per se, as you might see in other entities. But we operate decentralized, and that gives us some flexibility. We're looking at how we handle the individuals, how we handle their projects, and that trust and responsibility is down to that department level. And how they work, like you said, their buying limits basically are from $1,000 to $50,000, and then after that it gets into a public procurement procedure. But that $0 to $50,000, it is through a quick quote process through our EVA system. And if you're not familiar with that, we'll talk about that in a second. But that is the opportunity. Again, they are buying what they need to run the airport, to manage the airport, to solve issues and take care of business. The typical purchase is somewhere in the 30,000 range in terms of the average purchase. And again, that's how we set up that 1 to 50,000. It's what works, what's worked historically, and again, above that, it's through the public procurement. But I also wanted to talk a little bit about, again, EVA. That is our method to reach out. We used to have an internal system that would go out and we would maintain it, but we realized that wasn't being effective, it wasn't being fair, it wasn't being representative of all the businesses out there. So we thought, let's utilize what the state is using, and a lot of municipalities and other government departments in the state of Virginia. So we tapped into the EVA system. And show of hands, anybody here who's a contractor or doing business in Virginia not familiar with EVA? Well, last year I had a few names that said they weren't familiar. This year I have no one here saying they're not familiar with it. So it tells you that is the mainstream method, and pretty much the contracting community understands that, the business community understands that. So that's how we operate. So if you're not in EVA, you're going to not see the official solicitations. We also use that process through those quick quotes. So again, we are fully immersed into the EVA process, and that's how you're going to reach out to us from an official capacity. But it also doesn't mean we also talk into in events like this and discovering who's doing what and understanding who you are and meeting with you, and then potential for where those buyers have that direct buy threshold, they can again engage you in a particular project. What else we do? Typical to any organization, we've got the large capital projects. And through that, and we'll talk about that in a second with our CIP plan, is through using FAA funding, other state funding, manages that or goes towards supporting those projects. And we've got our planning director, who also happens to be our chief operating officer, is here today, and he'll be talking a little bit more about what all goes into that, what we have coming up. But those are, again, large capital projects, and typically those are done through FAA funding, and at times, or where appropriate and necessary, we'll have goals set to that, and through the FAA and the DBE program. I also look at variety of services the airport has. Not only are the capital projects, but these are professional services. Everything from your architect to engineers. We may have some that are on call right now, but we also look to put out solicitations for various projects as they come up where we need to have a specific architect or engineering firm on that project. So we will put that out through a solicitation. We also get into the small project world. Again, the airport, it's got to be maintained 24/7. It has to operate 24/7, and we have a team of airport staff that some of them are here today, and those are some of those buyers. And I wanted to introduce them, and if I can I've got a couple of gentlemen in the back. I want to introduce you to them so you can put some names to some faces. I'm going to call the gentleman up, and I'm not going to put you into a speaking role, but if you can at least come up to the front of the table here, and I wanted to at least call you out to let people know who you are and what you're doing. And I want to start off as I see them. I've got Brad Christopher. Brad is our director of maintenance, and basically everything that needs to be fixed or maintained at the airport, he and his team are involved with that. So Brad, come on down. I've also got, working with Brad, I've got Scott Walker in building maintenance. I've got Steve Mundy. He does his electrical work. I've got Folger Tuck, helps us out on the automotive side. I got Paul Barksdale. Paul Barksdale does our building maintenance services. He's the guy I'm always hearing about. The airport is so clean and neat and well taken care of. It is a positive to the community because they like the way the airport looks and it's spick and span. Paul and his team are part of that. So Paul Barksdale. And last but not least, I've got Kevin Mallory. Kevin is a new join to the Airport Commission. He also helps out with we've got a new department called Landside Services, and he works at the ground transportation side. So you've got a cross-section here of folks that do the airport maintenance, and these are also the folks that are buying things, whether it's putting out a solicitation, RFP, a bid, it may be a quick quote for something that needs to be done emergency, it may be, or within that dollar threshold. So you've got Brad Christopher, overall maintenance, Scott Walker working with Brad on building maintenance, Steve Mundy on electrical, Folger Tuck with automotive. Automotive is a wide area. You've got everything from our fire trucks to our snow plows to the tractors to lawnmowers. Everything that moves on the airport falls under Folger, so he's the one making things go. And Paul's on the inside, taking care of everything, make sure it looks good. And lastly, again, as I said, Kevin Mallory with our landside services and our ground transportation. So again, a cross-section. So later today, when we get into our network call, if that happens to be something that ties into what your interests are, or you just want to learn more, they'll be happy to talk to you about what they're doing. Gentlemen, thank you. One thing that ties into what they do, and if you don't have it, please pick one up before you leave today. It is a booklet. We call it Power Together, Business Opportunities 2022. And it is a breakdown. It gives you not only our basic mission, but it also gives you, importantly, their email address, their telephone number. It tells you what they're buying and tells you how often they're buying things. It goes into, so if you're wondering, well, what exactly is Brad doing? What exactly is Paul buying? There's a breakdown and a sample of what they're doing and the frequency they're buying these goods and services. So it's if you left here with one thing, what's the old phrase, make sure you have this booklet handy. If you drop it and lose it, then go to our website at flyrichmond.com and we can get access to that booklet as well. But it's your portal. It's your access to what they're doing and what the airport's doing on the maintenance or purchasing. And it also has a link to the capital program and what we're doing in terms of in the forecast. So if you want to get a flavor, a feel, it's a good, handy little pamphlet to have. Before I turn it over to John talking about the CIP program, I wanted to bring up another piece of what we're doing, and I wanted to share that because it is something that doesn't happen very often at the airport. We are getting ready to embark on a RFP for a fixed base operator, or two of them actually. These are long-term contracts with the companies that handle the general aviation component to the airport. If you're familiar at all with the airport or aviation, this is a big piece to the airport. Not only do you have the commercial airlines and what they do, and what you've all been beneficiaries of, but the fixed base operators are the ones that handle the general aviation public, the owner of the small Cessna, the transient folks coming into Richmond. It may be business clients of yours who are coming in for whatever purpose, but they want to land at the FBO, and they're not using the commercial side. These contracts is a 30-year type of contract, and this RFP will basically define it's open to looking for the best competition. The best competitor will be awarded. We've got two opportunities that, dependent upon demand, we might be able to do more. But the idea is that this would change the dynamic of how the airport looks on the east side. We've started the groundwork to move things over to the east side and where the FBOs from where they are now. And this is, I call this a once-in-a-lifetime almost opportunity that the airport will be doing this. So if you have friends who are in the general aviation community, you have folks that involve in anything to do with the general aviation, it could be the hangar construction, it can be the ramp work, it can be all the facets of building hangars. These projects are coming up. The RFP will be going out in the next year, the spring of next year, and probably be awarded probably the summer of '23. And because the contracts for the existing FBOs end in '26, the plan is to have all this work behind the scenes so we can then implement the new FBO contracts when time comes in '26. But it's an exciting opportunity, and one that you may not hear a whole lot about it, but I want to start that groundwork now and change that dialogue so people are aware of what's going on. This is, again, it's a public-private type thing. The airport will be involved in some part as far as building some basic infrastructure, but the private side will be the ones that win those RFP, their involvement in building those hangars. And they're going to be looking for the community to all types of trades. And then one thing we'll be having in the RFP will be an opportunity to make sure that there is outreach efforts, so you continue to dialogue with the community on what's going on going forward, so you're not unaware and able to take advantage of an opportunity coming up. And this will range everything from, and also include potentially, not potentially, but to move our customs operations right now that are sort of in an ad hoc type setup, but to move them into a new facility along with this general aviation onto the east side. So it's a big change what's going to be coming down. So the next couple of years, be a lot of activity and a lot of opportunity. Again, just a little orientation to what I'm talking about. If you look at the my little red dot here, here's the main terminal. Here's our runway 220 and 1634. Here's the east side. We've got a large federal government tenant over in this area, and the FBO facility that the future will be over here. Currently, you've got an FBO on the south side and one up on the north side, but it'll basically move in all that business over to the east side. So, and I'll look at the size, just a little more, zooming in a little bit. You're going to have a large, this is roughly a 35 acre field where we'll have the two FBO locations. So all this is new ramp that doesn't exist today, concrete ramp, asphalt ramp, parking, structures to be built. It's basically, right now if you drove past it on P.O.W.E.R Road, you just say, okay, there's a nice green field, but in the future this will be a big opportunity. And with that, I'm going to turn this over now to Mr. John Rutledge. John's our Chief Operating Officer, and also he wants to hang on to things, and he's got that capital improvement program. So I'll let John talk about things and go from there. Thank you, John.
I asked Troy a little while ago if I need a box to stand on back here, but I guess I'm okay. Everybody can see me. Again, I'm John Rutledge. I'm the Chief Operating Officer with the Commission. And a brief overview of the capital improvement program, but I'm going to skip ahead. Just a brief overview of what the airport, if you're not familiar with the layout of the airport, we refer to this area as the west side, the terminal area building complex, concourses. This is the location of the previous, the Virginia Air National Guard occupied that east side of the airport. And they vacated back in 2008, and the property came back to us. And that's, long-term, that is the focus of airport development, the east side. Some of the projects, we've got approximately, right now in our ACIP, about 40-plus projects over the next 3 years. Airfield improvements, including taxiway, apron, and drainage projects. We've got here we go. This is really hard to see, and I have electronic copies of this. If anybody's interested, we can forward that to you, or I believe it's on our website also. But some taxiway connector projects, relocation, site work, which typical civil site work, heavy site work operation. Big project that we're beginning the design on, the environmental work, is a new aircraft rescue and firefighting facility. The current facility that our firefighters occupy is 41 years old. And if you're not aware, Richmond International Airport was built on the headwaters of the White Oak Swamp. This facility sits out in the middle of the airfield, and it's in dire need of repair. And after doing a study on it, it was as expensive or more expensive to repair the facility than build a new one. With that being said, the current facility is in the middle of the airfield out here. The new facility will be built in approximately this location. We anticipate going through the design on that early next year, with construction starting late next year or early calendar year 2024, and hopefully occupying it by the end of 2024. And that project will have a lot of opportunity for various trades, specialized trades, typical civil heavy site work, concrete work, storm sewer work, sanitary sewer, but also vertical work with the structure of the building, with the electrical systems, electronic systems, access systems, door systems. It will run the entire gamut. We anticipate that project somewhere in the neighborhood of $20 million. Also, a large project we're looking at in the future that will be a really interesting project is the consolidation of the security checkpoints. If you've flown through Richmond, you know you've got 2 concourses with 2 separate checkpoints. Our desire is to consolidate those checkpoints into one checkpoint back as you walk toward the atrium, if you're familiar with the Applebee's is, to bring that checkpoint back further to the, I guess I'll say the curbside and the ticket counters, and then so you only have to walk through one checkpoint, and it opens up that entire area behind the checkpoint. It becomes secure. So you have access you can walk freely between 2 concourses. That entire area behind the checkpoint is available for concessions and whatever else may arise. Centralized distribution and receiving and distribution facility. This is sort of a new project we put on the horizon, where it'd be a structure adjacent somewhere probably to the airfield, where there would be centralized receiving for all airport tenants, including the commission, and then centralized distribution. More efficiency, more security, and hopefully overall better operation. Rental car facility improvements. If you ever rented a car at Richmond, you know you've got the rental car counters in the center core area where you walk in, and then you pick up your rental car at a garage. The plan would be to relocate those rental car counters in the northern bag claim area and close the walkway, both levels, between the terminal building and the rental car facility. Climate controlled, and 2-level, where you could, if you wanted to drop your car off, walk the 2nd level over to the ticket counters, you'd be able to do that. get you out of the weather, still maintain the convenience of having rental cars adjacent to the airport or adjacent to the terminal building. And then various landscaping and signage projects. We're looking at some renovations to the center core area, which is a surface lot there between the two parking garages. Also with a entrance signage and improvements for the intersection of Williamsburg Road and Airport Drive, and also Charles City Road and Airport Drive to the south. Not sure exactly what that looks like yet. We've got some concepts, but it will definitely be opportunities for signage, landscaping, and some architectural features to enhance the property. And we have various funding sources. You see the total figures there. I know it's sort of small, but I think in this plan, if the funding is available, there's approximately $150 million worth of work just in large capital projects over the next 3 to 4 years. Various funding sources on that. Airport Improvement Program funding, which Russ has already talked about, which comes from the FAA. We get a certain amount of that as entitlements each year, plus we are going to be requesting discretionary money from the FAA. Also with the bipartisan infrastructure law, we received a certain, for the beginning in 2022, we started receiving funds for that, and we'll receive that over the next 5 years. Passenger facility charge, which is a charge on each ticket that is purchased that flies out of Richmond that can be used for capital improvement projects that meet FAA criteria, and a number of the projects. Passenger boarding bridges is one that we may look at for PFCs. And then also customer facility charge, which is a charge on the rental car operations. Each time you rent a car, there's a charge for that operation. And then Virginia Department of Aviation funds and also commission funds. And just looking at some of those projects, there's a number of the flat work civil. There's also quite a few vertical projects in there, improvements to the terminal building. And I won't go into detail on that, but we have time for any questions, Russ, if anybody. And if you have any questions on any of this, I'd be happy to answer that. You can ask now, or you can catch me later, and I'd be happy to sit down with you or talk to you and explain what's going on.
We have microphones here if you want to come up and ask any questions to John.
Good?
John, thank you. I don't think you have enough business cards handy to handle all these projects that you may have as far as people wanted to talk to you more, but John will be here all morning, and again, his name and information is in this booklet as well, so if you wanted to reach out on a one-on-one call or just stop or arrange a time to talk to him about what you do, and because a lot of these projects haven't been designed. These are things that are opportunity, they're full-born opportunity from design to construction. So that's I think a neat thing going forward. That fire station hasn't started yet. I mean, so if you're a design individual or you're an architect, that is an opportunity. So besides the ultimate construction bid, so please reach out. He is the guy at the airport, and again, he looks forward to talking with you and learning more about you, and so please, if you haven't talked to him before you leave today, that would be an opportunity missed. Let me see here. We're a little bit ahead, but I think Mr. Daniels can handle this. We're going to move into our guest speaker here. I want to introduce Darryl briefly because he's an important individual. I've known him for a long time, and he's been a friend of Richmond Airport in terms of working here, providing services from planning, advisory, consulting. He's an architect by trade, and his company does a lot of work with us in terms of those aforementioned needs. He's also a concessionaire. I believe he was tasked one time to help an airport, and he took upon the challenge and got involved in the concession business. So this individual knows the airport from the construction, the design, and the concession side. So all parts of the airport, Mr. Daniels has had an opportunity. And I wanted with him to kind of share his thoughts as he's been around the country and seen airports big and small, good opportunities, bad opportunities, problems, solutions, and all that. He's been part of it. And I think his insight is invaluable, and I think you might learn a few things. And I want to welcome Mr. Darrell Daniels, with Jacobson Daniels, to the podium.
Testing. Great. And do I need the clicker for the... I'm not really a podium guy. I kind of like to talk and walk at the same time.
Just don't point the laser at me.
Perfect. Well, good morning, everyone. And really, thank you for being here. This is really a great turnout and a great event. I appreciate the invitation. So I'm going to take you back to, I guess, 2017, 2018, our firm is awarded the contract to do all the food and beverage, the restaurants, bars, and so forth, at the Jackson Municipal Airport in Jackson, Mississippi. So, you know, to get a concession in any airport is really a big deal. It's not easy. But to get the whole airport, where someone, if you're buying a beer, you're buying it from me. If you're buying a glass of wine, you're buying it from me. If you're buying a hamburger, you're buying it. In some airports, you're buying it from different companies, but they have the whole airport. So the big deal. That's a small airport. It was only 4 or 5 locations, so it wasn't Atlanta, Hartsfield, or some big airport, but it was or Richmond or whatever. It was fairly small, and it gave us an opportunity to not only plan it and design it, build it, and then operate it. It gave us an opportunity to try to identify some unique local vendors, some unique local products, and the airport wanted that. So I took that on as a challenge. I said, I want to go throughout Mississippi and try to find, local vendors and local products, and I want to feature those products at the airport in one of our locations. So I get 2 hobbies. I like to visit presidential libraries and museums. Doesn't matter the president, I just think those are just incredible places. They do such a wonderful job. And I highly recommend anybody to go to the presidential libraries and museums all around the country. And I like to visit historically black colleges mostly around the South, because that's where they are. I like to just kind of go there and see what they look like and what special exhibits they may have and how those folks built those campuses from basically nothing and with very little money. But in Mississippi, there's a school called Alcorn State University. And I knew Alcorn because I grew up in southern Arkansas, so I kind of knew that region, and I know what, those schools there, and, the football team and blah, blah, blah. So I've traveled through Alcorn, and I go to what they have is a store of products from farmers in Mississippi. I'm like, wow. They have hot sauce and pickles and canned this and canned that, and I'm looking at the store. I'm like, wow, I can sell these at the airport. I can feature this university and their products at the airport. How great is that? Particularly since Alcorn is maybe about an hour and a half or so from Jackson. So everybody uses that airport. So I talked to the people at the store, and I'm like, you know what? I want to sell your stuff at the airport. I can do this. I can do it. I can make a decision. At some of the bigger stores and airports, they have national buyers. So they it's really tough to go to them and try to get your product because they know they have national accounts. They get their books and cookies and whatever they get from their suppliers. But here, I can make that decision. I can say, oh, I want this hot sauce, I want this, I want these pickles, I want this candy, blah, blah, blah. So I do. I go through and I want all this stuff. And the store guy's like, well, we can't do that. I'm like, what? I can just buy it from you, mark it up, and sell it at the airport, because, they'll pay anything at the airport. And so I said, I could get cases of this from you guys. You have this agricultural store. No one's in it. I'm like the only person walking around the store. And yet I want to put your products in the airport where, thousands of people are walking through every day and they could think, oh, this is a neat little thing. I can give it as a gift or whatever. At the airport, you know how this works. No. So I go back and I said, okay, something is wrong here. So I write the president of the university, and I write every dean at the university, and in one email, I put it to everybody. I got a call. In that email, I put this to everybody. I said, I want to do this story, blah, 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 and I can't get a response from anybody. Eventually, I get a call. And they said, Mr. Daniels, hi, we saw your email. Some administrative person, I guess the president, whoever told him to call me. And I said, yes, I can do this. This is not some scam if you just allow me to purchase it and have the products. Kid you not, it took probably about 6 months, and I got a call finally saying, you can buy it and sell it in the airport. I said, I can? Yes. The Attorney General of Mississippi approved it. I'm like, you had to go to the Attorney General of Mississippi to get the approval to sell hot sauce? Your hot sauce? They said, yes. I'm telling you this because of the incredible impediments sometimes that are put before you when you're trying to just do a simple, what you would think is a simple kind of exchange. They wouldn't even give me the wholesale price. I had to buy it at retail, and still mark it up, and they still bought it, because the airport, because it's the airport, they buy anything. So anyway, that was our experience dealing with not just, because the airport wanted this. It was trying to deal with the entities around the airport, and even to get up to the Attorney General at the state, it just made no sense. And quite honestly, as an entrepreneur working at airports, you run into a lot of stuff that doesn't make any sense. But you have to take advantage, as you are today, of these events with Russ and with the airport staff here, because you have to sort through all the various bits and pieces and parts of the airport. And actually, if I go back here a minute, I wanted to just give a shout out to my staff and folks who do work all over the country. They're great people, and it's a good team. And as Russ has said, we've done a lot of work here, and we appreciate that. He also told you I'm an architect, so you're probably wondering, why am I selling hot sauce in in the airport as an architect? Well, at a firm I was working in many years ago, the engineer owner of the firm was doing something kind of outside of what I thought was the normal scheme of things, for our firm. And then he said, listen, this was in New Orleans. He said, I'll sell snowballs, on the sidewalk if that made us money. But it got me to thinking, I said, but you're an engineer. This is your thing. He said, yeah, but I'm also a businessman. I'm looking for opportunities. And so that nugget I kept. And even as we started our firm, I said, you know what, we're looking for opportunities. And so what you're going to hear today, and again why Russ asked me to talk, is because I kind of took many opportunities and leveraged them into other things. Before I got to Jackson, we were doing the food and beverage at an airport in Alaska, Juneau, Alaska. So I was happy to get to Jackson, quite honestly, because flying, I'm based in Michigan, so flying from Michigan to Alaska, off and on was quite a journey. So, being in Mississippi was helpful. So, but the point I want to make is when I started in Alaska and started and even in Jackson, the work I was doing for them had nothing to do with concessions. In Alaska, they had asked us to help them renovate their terminal so they could expand their concessions. So we were terminal planners, architects helping them there. But when their concessionaire walked out on them, they looked to us to help them. I'm like, help you do what? They said, help us this. Can you do it? I guess I can. What does it take? And it does take a lot. So, shout out to all you folks with the concessionaires because it is a lot of work, particularly standing on your feet all day, doing coffee and so forth. But we took that challenge on. We said, well, we're planners, we're architects, planners, so we can plan this thing. If we operate it, it will help us to know that side of the business, the operational side of the business. So that'll make us better planners. That'll make us better architects because now we know how this works. And we took that challenge on, and it led to the next challenge. And quite frankly, in one of the airports we were working, we were planning a parking operation because we were landside planners too. So airport, they're terminal planners, they're landside planners, they're financial planners, environmental planners. They're all of us who kind of do all this stuff at very bits and pieces at airports. But one airport asked us, well, I know you guys are doing that. Could you do this? I said, well, we haven't really done that, but I guess I can look into it or find an expert that I can bring to our firm who can take that on. Sure enough, we do that planning, and this was valet operating at airports, where you drop your car off and you go on. And in really 4 or 5 short years, we went from one valet airport operation to 6 around the country, and including the very largest one in the country at LAX. So what it taught us is that we get to see and we get to experience making improvements for the airport from every angle. And what Russ asked me to chat about today was, what are some of the things that I'm seeing at airports that might be of interest to you in terms of trends, what's happening, and what to expect over the next 20 or so years? So what I would just want to walk through a few things that I believe will be the priority for airports. And the trick here is for you to kind of see where could I leverage my abilities and my skills and my firm, my company, and who can I bring in to assist in doing some of this stuff. I'm not going to go into details, but one of the things that I'm seeing at airports is a need and a desire to really improve the passenger travel experience. It's not just about grabbing a cup of coffee or a hamburger. It's also about, having a massage, going to the gym in the airport, doing these things that you would think would be normally outside the airport. You're seeing more kind of concierge-like services in airports. And we're seeing RFPs hitting the street all the time where they're looking for folks to provide passenger amenities beyond what's expected. But what I'm also seeing and hearing is that because airports are sometimes in competition, meaning there could be 2 or 3 airports within an hour or 2 of each other, and passengers get to make a decision about where they want to go and where they want to fly based upon the price. So, having amenities and making it convenient is something that the airports are focused on, and that airports are, trying to up their game in many ways. So I'm pointing out that I think you can look for what amenities that might be of interest to you, but also how could you intersect there? What what we have done is we try to not only just operate in various places, but where we're not operating, we also look to support the operator. So by the experience that we had in Juneau and in Jackson, we know how to build concession spaces now. So we took that and took that to some of the major concessionaires around the country, and we said, listen, I have an office in Seattle. I have technical folks in Seattle. Let us be your project manager for this project. Let us, represent you and build these things for you. And we're not afraid to go around the country. So sure enough, here in Seattle, Concessions International, it's a firm based out of Atlanta, hired us to be their project manager, their construction project manager in Seattle, building 3 or 4 of their different locations. And their restaurants, P.F. Chain, Salties, a couple other things. These are huge projects. These are like multi-million-dollar projects. And for us, our project managers are they're working with the contractors, they're working with the airport, and they, because we did work at Seattle, we had a bit of an advantage because we knew the airport. We know the permitting process. We know how all this works. So it was easy for them to say, yeah, these guys are there every day. Let's hire them. Let's manage them. So, and what happens? American Express sees that we do this, and they say, oh, well, why don't y'all do this for us at our American Express VIP lounge? Great. We take that project on. And then American Express says, well, can you do it for us in Las Vegas? Can you do it for us in Miami? Can you do it? Yeah. Just tell me. Yeah, I'll absolutely do it for you. And this is American Express. But American Express, then Delta sees us doing this, and Delta's like, well, can you do it for us over here? Can you do it for us? So now, and then Capital One, I don't know if you heard, they're building lounges now. Same thing. So now we're in this group of 2 or 3 companies that bid on these projects. Sometimes they just give them to you, but sometimes you bid with 1 or 2 others, but they know you now. You've done work for them. It's been successful. So now Delta hires us, frequently to do their clubs around the country, and American Express almost exclusively to do their clubs to manage the construction around the country. But this all started with us, taking a chance on the Jackson, on Juneau, and then leveraging that experience because they want to know, well, have you done this before? It's not always can you do it, it's have you done it before? Where in fact, I think sometimes can you do it is just as important as have you done it before. But, in this world, particularly as a small firm, you often have to prove yourself over and over again, and we've had that. So I think the point from this, the point I want to drive home here is when you attach yourself at an airport to some of these national companies, you then have the ability to go and travel with them around the country. It's not simply just working for the airport, and many of the projects that Russ pointed out were airport-related projects, but at that airport, there are stakeholders like the rental cars, the concessionaires, and all the others who are all over the country, and once you kind of prove yourself there and work with them and contract with them, you have that ability to go along. In the capital development and infrastructure, the airports are always under construction. They're always building something, so our firm, we didn't have to go to hospitals and schools and other kind of stuff. We can say, no, we can live in this airport environment. We can do because of our team now, and we have various sectors of our firm, we can do the strategic planning, we can do the technical planning, we can do the construction management. We don't do the construction, but we do the construction management, and that really is a benefit in many ways for the airport to have the construction manager there because it really helps to kind of be their eyes and ears as well on the project. But when you do the construction management, you also have the opportunity to represent not just the concessionaires, you have the opportunity to represent the airlines. And you have the opportunity to represent the rental cars. And we were able to to do just that, through this work. We have represented the rental cars almost on every major consolidated rental car facility in the country, and we work for every airline, not just doing the Delta Club, but doing other airline projects, just tenant projects. There could be, the ticket counters or the back office, or the flight. At big hub airports, they have flight services for the pilots and the flight attendants and all this kind of stuff, and you can manage those projects. So again, I think what Russ really wanted me to kind of point out is that don't limit your opportunities to just what you see in terms of the list at the airports. The other key things I want to point out: there's a big sustainability environmental movement, even with the airports, for everything from the waste management program to recycling. It is something that I think you're going to hear at more and more airports around the country, and the desire to take advantage of the dollars associated with that. I put up there wildlife management and cultural resources, because sometimes you just don't realize that these things are components of what needs to be what happens at an airport. Russ talked about all those kind of maintenance projects that keeps the doors open. I will say one of the projects that really inspired me to kind of go off on my own, as an entrepreneur, was to learn that airports hire companies to remove the rubber from the runways. And I'm thinking to myself, you hire a company, this was at big airports, but because they have so many flights coming in, and you think about the wheels and the runways, and so they hire companies to just remove the rubber from the runways. I don't know, do you guys do it internally, or do you hire somebody? Yeah, exactly, yeah. So, when I learned that, I started thinking, well, what else do they hire to do this specific to some little thing? And you take that, and and we grew from that. We don't remove rubber from the runway. But it was just learning that happens inspired me. Later today, there'll be people talking about concessions, and I'll let them handle that. These are the real concession experts. But I will tell you one thing that you should insist on here in Richmond, and in other airports, the unique local products, unique local vendors. And what I'm seeing more and more in airports is, sometimes getting into the brick and mortar space is a little difficult, and it does cost a lot of money. But kiosk programs have been a way to introduce small businesses, local businesses, into the program. I don't know if they have a kiosk program, but I know some airports have them, and they have them because the local community insisted that they have them and that they can get their local products. Because like I said, if you have local products, it's really tough to get them into the national stores because they're national buyers. And you really have to bend them to get them to appreciate or even to consider some local product. And I mean, it could be soap or candles or whatever that they sell that are nice gifts, or hot sauce. So, when you talk to the concession folks later today, if you're interested in that, you should really kind of dig into, their buying. And as I told you, we were able to work for them just managing the construction effort in their stores. It's a challenge getting construction permits at airports. So to have somebody who kind of can work with the airport and work with the city, if the city is involved, or whatever authority there, to kind of navigate through all that, saves money for the vendor, because it's just time. You got contracts, you got time, you got to get these stores open, and on and on. So hiring someone to represent you really is a critical piece to it. Russ mentioned the GA aviation, the general aviation opportunity that's coming up. That's going to be a 30-year contract. So these things, they don't come around that often. So he's absolutely right. What he didn't say, and you will probably learn over the next, if you're interested in this opportunity, you'll learn that there are only a handful of these companies that will bid on this project. There are maybe 5, but they're probably like 3. And they're everywhere. They're all over the country. So those, again, if you're interested, you should be talking to them right now. And it's a private development, but they will be held to certain standards, I'm sure, and they will have to do certain things that the airport requires. And then to get on those teams, I advise getting on all of them if you can, and provide the services that you have. I mean, it's going to be a big deal, the FBO development, and it's almost like a whole nother terminal complex, on that side of the airport. So I didn't want to gloss over that. I really wanted you to kind of think about what service or product or how you can support them, learn what they need, and start those conversations early, because as he said, they're going to put it out in a year. And I commend them for saying that. Most of these just go out and from airports and you just scramble to put it together. But to know that you got a year to actually start talking to folks, that is huge. A number of other things that are kind of management-oriented contracts. Many of these contracts are 3-5-year contracts, and again, you tend to find they're the same players in the airport industry all over the country. So as you get to know them, you can manage through contracts that are really national. I want to point out too that terminal operations, I'm sure that the airport over here is the staff, they're rolling their eyes like, what is Daryl talking about? So increasingly, you're seeing, certain airports put out just parts of the terminal, maybe manage the whole concourse, or manage elements that the airlines and the airport kind of agree that the airlines will manage these sections. So let's say the jet bridges and the baggage system, even the ramp tower, not the FAA tower, but a smaller tower. And this is, again, at large hub airports. But it also could be the sky caps, sometimes it's the janitorial, depending on the specific area. And what's happened is, and I'm seeing this more and more, where the airport and the airlines are in agreement that the airlines will have a consortium, and that consortium will hire a third party to manage all these vendors. So the airport is no longer, somehow the airlines and the airports have agreed that it's a cost savings for the airport and the airlines to do this as a third party management. And this is going on now in several airports around the country. Of course, I saw this as an opportunity and, have put together a team, and we're now doing this kind of terminal management at a couple different airports. And I'm seeing that airports find it easier to just say, airlines, you guys manage this, and the airlines say, hey, you guys, you manage this for us. Do all the vendor contracts, do all the negotiating with the vendors, do all this. The airport gives up a little bit of control, but at the end of the day, they still have all the control. It is just giving the airlines this kind of freedom to kind of manage these things and to do some cost savings. I think you're going to see more of that in the coming years. In fact, I know you are, because I'm chasing and looking at those opportunities all over the country. So just keep your eye on that. And I'm going to end here by just sharing, learning about taking the rubber off the runway, learning that little nugget about selling snowballs, engineers selling snowballs. For me, that was an opportunity to see things differently. I went to school to be an architect, and I thought I'd, focus on just kind of designing buildings and so forth. But by seeing it differently, I've been able to build a firm that provides opportunities for folks, across the spectrum. We are airport architects, engineers, planners, but we're also operational folks. You know, we are baristas, and we are parking, valet attendants, and so forth. And it's just really been a joy, quite honestly, to provide these opportunities for folks, to see them kind of grow within our firm, to see them also wanting to do different things. Because, you know, as the entrepreneur and the business owner, yeah, you're motivated by a lot, but you also see folks in your firm who are also motivated. And because we've been so successful in allowing engineers to be parking attendants, or we've been allowing other folks to kind of see various aspects of the airport, they, in my opinion, feel more engaged in our firm, and our retention is higher. We don't, I think people see career paths in our firm, and it's really been a great opportunity. So thank you for allowing me to speak today. And Russ, I hope I can, if I didn't enlighten you on anything, you know, you can just like look at Russ and say, Russ, this is it.
Daryl, thank you very much. Well, I think that was exactly what the doctor ordered in terms of just getting an idea of what's happening in airports from someone who's had the full breadth of it all. So hopefully someone in here knows somebody, either involved with concessions, has got an idea. Somebody here knows somebody who's got an idea in terms of what they can do in terms of the variety of things Daryl spoke of. And here I am. Here's the airport. You've met with John, what he's doing with the construction. And this is a neat opportunity. One, I'm impressed with the crowd has grown since we started talking. I'm like, this is a full room. I'm excited to see that. That shows that there's interest. And there's a variety of opportunities out here. So it's really an opportunity to talk to people, and I hope you take advantage of it, because there's just a lot going on, and then we're always open to ideas. And I know John mentioned Q&A. If there are questions, we've got a few minutes before we go to our next section. But and if you want to talk to him one-on-one, I mean, he's gonna be here all day. But again, that booklet, this is just a starting point. It's just a starting point to who's doing what, and where your idea, as Daryl mentioned, where your concept, it may not be directly what we're talking about, but what are we doing? And to really dig into that. We had a break set for 10:15. It's 10:10 now, thereabouts. I'm going to go ahead and let us go ahead a couple minutes extra to get you an opportunity to get a drink, bio break, a little bit of meet somebody, maybe start talking to people, start that engaging of who's who. But so let's go ahead and break now. 10:30, come back, and we're going to sit down and hear from I think a nice cross section of contractors, subcontractors, and some government agencies talking about what's going on in the world of doing business at the airport and some issues that come across. So with that, take 15, and I'll be back here 10:30. Thank you. We're going to go ahead and get started now. If you want to take your seats or let folks know in the hallway to come on in. We've got a really interesting panel here to get started. Amy, it's your job to drag them in. Okay. All right. Well, I think we're at that next part of our schedule, and we're moving along, I think, at a pretty good pace, not too long, not too slow. We've got something we've never tried before, at least for the airport, our annual outreach events, is to bring you a panel on with the discussion topic. And I was able to coerce my Disadvantaged Business Enterprise consultant, supplier diversity consultant, Angela Booker, who is new to the Airport Commission, and to help me out with this event. So this is an interesting part, and I think you will learn something from this, talking to the individuals, hearing their stories, and as they engage with Angela on various topics. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Miss Angela Booker.
Thank you, Russ. Good morning. I bring you greetings from Arizona, the land of 100 degrees plus. And I will tell you, I've been in quite a shock. You changed time on me and you got cold. So I'm trying to adjust here. So if you see me dozing a little bit, I'm still trying to get that time change going here. So good morning again. And so what I'll do today, we'll get started by introducing our panel. So our panel will be introducing themselves and giving you a fun fact about what they're passionate about in their industry. So we're going to start to my far left, and we will continue on down until everybody has done the introductions.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Calvin P.O.W.E.R. I am the director of the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Outreach and Transportation Business Development Division at the Department of Small Business and Supply Diversity. And I guess my passion regarding the industry is certainly I love and I look forward to meeting business owners and assisting them with developing their business and growing their business.
Good morning. I'm Chris Harrison White. I'm with Virginia Community Capital. We are a community development financial institution based in Henrico County, but we expand across the state of Virginia. I am very passionate about small business. My career has been in the financial industry. It's been a lengthy career, so I've been at the large banks, the small ones, the ones you never heard of, and I'm pretty sure you never heard of a CDFI. So my passion is really about listening to the vision and dreams of small business owners and breaking down all the barriers that are put up in front of them to get access to equitable capital and also opportunities. And so normally when I show up in a room, those that know me, they see a smile, but there's a fight and a bite behind me that gets the job done.
Good morning. My name's Allison Hansen, and I am the co-founder and president of H&B Surveying and Mapping. We're a small firm that provides surveying and mapping services in Virginia, and we're woman-owned, and we have had the pleasure of working with Mr. Thweet and his department, and we've been in business for about 14 years now. So one of the things that we've run across in our industry, which has become a new passion of mine, is to work with our industry partners and associations in the workforce development programs, trying to bring up the next generation and the younger generations of surveyors and help this profession and our industry partners.
Nancy?
Okay. Is this guy on? Okay. I'm Nancy West. I am the owner of Extari Federal Services Group. We are a very small management consulting firm that provides diversity, equity, and inclusion services. And what I'm passionate about in this industry are a couple of things. Inclusion is one, because that doesn't happen often enough unless a company is a certified business. I'm also passionate in this industry about economic development in our communities through the ability to engage anyone and everyone who is ready and capable of offering their services in this industry. And you heard a lot about that this morning. So those are the things I'm passionate about in this industry.
Thank you, Nancy.
Excuse me. My name is Edward Wessel. I'm a president and owner of Highway Paving. Can you hear me all? It's all right. We're a heavy highway contractor with our emphasis on aviation work. First off, we're very passionate about is concrete. There are some
Really?
asphalt guys in here, but that's okay. We need a two-pavement system to make everybody happy. It's okay. But yeah, I'm very passionate about concrete and what we do. I'm also very passionate about innovation and growth for not only our people, everybody here in this room, but airports. And we're going to go and be a partner and help them realize their vision, their goals, their growth. We work at several airports throughout the states. Fortunately, here, been working at Richmond for the last year. It's been a good experience for us. We work in Nashville, Tennessee. We work in Charlotte. We work in GSP, RDU. So we've been around a bit. And with John and Perry's been showing and about your vision of what you want to do here, it's great. You got to have that goal, 5, 10-year, 15-year program to get this thing off the ground. And the other part, you heard about the IIJA that just passed last year, and the money that's going into infrastructure is huge. I mean, highway paving sustained for 50 years on $3 billion a year in aviation money. Now it's $6 billion a year, AIP funding. So there's a lot of opportunities in the aviation space to build things and grow.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Ed. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about the DBE program. And if you're not familiar, I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. The primary purpose or goal of the DBE program is to level the playing field. It allows small businesses, whether you're certified or not, and whether you're socially and economically or disadvantaged, it allows you that fair opportunity to compete for federally funded contracts. And we understand that applying for the program requires perseverance. Can you say that with me? Perseverance, okay? There are 3,000 airports across the country, and there's a lot of business being done. But to succeed, you have to have what?
Perseverance.
I'm gonna have put my church hat on. I can't hear you. You have to have what?
Perseverance.
You have to have perseverance in this industry. As you heard earlier, you will succeed if you put your feet and your hands, your ears, and your cell phone to work. You will succeed in this industry, but it will take some work. So, perseverance. Steve Jobs says he was convinced that half of what separates the successful entrepreneurs from the non-successful entrepreneurs are the ones who persevere. And that's from Steve Jobs. He's gone on to another place, but he's still making money. So, perseverance. Being an entrepreneur, it's a challenge now, and I think you heard that earlier, but the reward is great. And it's easy for you to give up, to want to move on, and try to find something different. But the biggest part of being successful in this industry, again, is having the stamina to stick it out through the hard times without quitting. And with that said, step one is getting your business certified. Again, I want to repeat, you don't have to be certified to work at the airport, but getting certified can open some other doors for you. So we want to keep in mind, and again, as you know, you can bid on any project. However, as I said, the certification may open some other doors for you. So let's get started with our panel. So our first question we're going to start with Nancy, and she's going to grab the mic and pull it closer so you can hear her. So Nancy,
Angela, yes.
why do you feel DBE certification is advantageous for a small business? As you know, it's not required, but why is it good to have?
I think it's advantageous because if you understand how federal, we're talking about the federal DBE program, there is a requirement by law that airports have a DBE program, and in that DBE program, the companies that are selected, whether they're as primes, and usually they're not DBE firms that are primes, are looking for subcontractors that can fulfill the goals that the airport set for DBE participation. So those companies are going to be looking first for firms that have that federal DBE certification.
Yes, yes. And Ed, tell us a little bit about, with your company, why is DBE certification important?
Well, again, my cohort here, there is federal requirements to have that. And here at the project we have, our goal is 9.78% of a $20 million contract. So do the math, that's quite a bit, right? And we're fortunate here, we had a couple of subcontractors that took care of that, and just with our electrical guy and our pavement marking took care of that. And other places, the goal is higher. Different airports, different, like Charlotte's very high goal, and also Atlanta's way high. So you need other services. Sometimes you have to get people hauling your aggregates to your concrete plant or the job, or another big one is safety and security. So that is usually, it's a requirement for us to do the business for the job. And if you don't meet those goals, you won't get awarded the contract. And they talk about a good faith effort trying to meet these goals. Where generally, you can meet the goals. You might have to pay a little bit of premium for this and that, but that's okay. That's a part of doing the business. Again, to help people get up above, to be competitive and grow their company. Eventually, some of these companies graduate and they're no longer disadvantaged, and they're just going and doing work. So.
And that's the goal, to graduate and to be able to be a prime yourself, and that's the goal of the program. So Allison, tell us a little bit about, what are some of the hurdles that your company may have faced?
So when we first formed in 2009, I knew very little about the DBE program, and one of the major hurdles that I think I faced in the beginning was thinking that I could do it on my own and I could get through the process on my own. And I would advise anybody considering starting the process to use the resources that are out there for you. The paperwork alone and just getting the information together, using the supplier diversity offices and talking to other people that have been through the process is very helpful. I think the key to success is surrounding yourself with people that understand the process, and it can make it less daunting and a little less painless for you.
A little less painless. She did not say there would not be some pain. So it's kind of like getting that shot. It's good for you, but it's going to hurt a little bit. And like my grandson said, he said, I'll take the shot, but you're going to have to give me a whole bag of candy to get through this. So there is sweetness at the end. So Kevin, what are your thoughts?
So certainly there may be some pain and maybe even a little suffering.
Just a little.
But the process is very, it will test your business skills, your management skills, coordination. Certainly one of the things that is probably the most difficult is gathering all of the documents that's needed to apply to the program, and also our processes. We have a certification portal, and that certification portal is challenging to some folks, particularly if you don't have someone to help you with gathering the documents and then uploading the documents. So that's probably the biggest challenge, is getting the documents together and getting them into the system. Now, as the director of the DBE Outreach and the Transportation Business Development Division, I have a staff that's there to assist you with applying for the DBE certification. We call that management and technical assistance, and those individuals are there, and I have 4 that's located in each area of the state, and they are there to be called upon to actually get you through the process, and along with the certification officers that actually process the applications, they are available too to assist you with getting through the process.
So as you can see, there's lots of assistance. Now, it's up to you to go get it. It's there, but you've got to knock on the door, go get it. When I was a certifying officer for an airport in Phoenix, one of the things that I would always say when they were wanting to get certified, I would say this, and you're going to learn this today. It's really difficult phrase, but I have faith in you that you can do this and say this. Now, repeat after me. Document. 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 That's the phrase. When you come in to get certified, to work on a project, to do an RFP, what do you need to do?
Document.
Say it again because you're a little slow. Come on. Now, I'm like totally confused about what time it is. So I know you can do better. Come on now, give me my phrase.
Document, document, document.
That's going to make you successful in this. Wait a minute, now go ahead, give it to me one more time. Thank you. You're going to see, this is going to help you get through. You're going to persevere, and you're going to document, document, and document. So now that you know about certification, what's your next step? You want to figure out, okay, I'm certified. Now what do I do? Went through this process, and I'm thinking the business is supposed to come to me, right? I'm supposed to just walk up, slap you in the face, give you a contract, and you move on, right? That's the way it works, right? No, it is not the way it works. So now that you're certified, you might want to bid on the project, but trust me, as my little grandson told me, he said, you're going to need some cash money, Gigi. So you might need a little cash money. That's a phrase I learned from an 8-year-old. So when you need cash money, you might want to talk to Chris, because you know if you're going to come do some work for the airport, it's going to cost money up front, and then you get paid a little later. So Chris is going to tell us a little bit about how you get your financing. Is it easy? Can I just walk in the door and you give me a bundle of money?
Well, we do have a vault. It's not a big one where I work today, but it's a vault. But yeah, money is king, right? So what's so great about the money that we have at Virginia Community Capital is that we have the opportunity to work with private and public funders, and we're capable of blending capital to allow it to be affordable, and we have the ability to get creative with how we structure loans. So in my role, in my other colleagues' role, there's 85 smart people that work for our company, we come together to create an opportunity to learn about what is available to our small businesses. So, for example, I meet with Russ and team to determine like what exactly are you all looking to do with the projects that you have going on, and what are some of the bid opportunities that small businesses have. What are the terms, the conditions, and all the compliance components of the project? And so I get a greater understanding of what it is that they're trying to achieve. And I try to match capital to that. So when small businesses come to us, we are capable of not just providing the capital, but be trusted advisors throughout the process. So when Calvin talks about all of the, he said pain and suffering, and some of the coordination that occurs through technical assistance, we too offer technical assistance. Our organization is the sponsor of a small business development center. It's the CAP Region SBDC, and that is, we are the sponsor of that office because technical assistance exists there. So when you talk about document, we have a team of people that help you do that. And so they meet you where you are. So if you need business planning strategies, help with understanding your financials and getting those presentable for bank lending, They work with marketing and also other forms of assistance, mostly the back office stuff, right? And so we follow you along your journey. And if we can't do it, our goal is not to say no, right? That decline it can hurt the soul when a bank gives you a decline. That's not our job to decline. Our job is to say, well, not yet, but here we're going to go on this journey together. So how can we ready yourselves for these opportunities? We got a year to prepare for a lot that's happening at the airport. Let's get started today.
Thank you so much. She said that one of the key words, creative, and she has a vault.
I have a little vault, but it can get bigger with lots
It's a
of
vault.
great partners.
It's a vault. That's all we care
It gets
about
bigger
in
with
small
Alvin's
business.
money
We're working
and
on
a lot
that.
of people's. It gets bigger.
She has a vault and she's creative. That's what we want to hear, creative financing. So Allison, tell us now, we've gone through this process. We've got ourselves certified. We've talked to Chris, got a little money out of her vault. Now we need to find some work. Tell us a little bit about how you find work in this industry.
I guess the key word that I have found as a professional service provider is relationships and fostering existing relationships. When I started, I didn't have a choice but to go to the people that I knew. I don't know if you heard me, but I started this business in 2009. So that was a tough market for surveying and civil engineering, any consulting business to do with this type of industry. So one of the, I guess, examples I like to use is back in college, I worked with a friend of mine I maintained the relationship, and she was working for the consultant engineer, and that was at Richmond. And I called her and I said, "Guess what I've done?" And she said, "Okay, well, they had a surveyor." So I was, I understood that I wasn't going to go out there and work tomorrow, but I took her to lunch and I talked to her, and I tried to understand what the opportunities were and what the programs were at Richmond. And I guess it took about 6 months to get my first job, and it was a very small job. And today I'm still helping the airport expand and improve their facilities, and they're one of my favorite clients to work for. But I would say that maintaining relationships, I would encourage you to get involved in your industry associations, get involved with the programs that are being offered. I know we do a lot of DOT work as well, and VDOT has what's called the P.O.W.E.R program. So they help the small businesses with your safety training that you've got to have, with understanding how to do a business plan, and understanding that a business plan isn't a static document that you put on a bookcase, and that once it's done, it's done. It's a fluid document that needs to be updated and reviewed and looked at. Maintain the relationships with who your client is. Relationships, that's the key word.
Relationships, keyword, a very important keyword. And you're here today to create, maintain, and maybe even abuse a few relationships today if you need to. Grab them, don't let them go till you get what you need, because you've got to be aggressive in this industry if you want to survive. I know it's about our time. Can I have 5 more minutes, please? 5 more minutes, because this question is going to go to Ed, but it's an important question in this industry. How do you find, Ed, great subs, but also employees for your company in this market?
Well, again, relationships is the first, subcontractors and suppliers. And, back in the day, we used to have a thing called a yellow pages, and we would do that, right? Well, that's all changed. But, Yeah, I mean, in this day and age in the market, it's really hard to find good employees. I mean, my cohort here, she's here with us helping out. We hired a staff of people. We have a hiring coordinator, we have a recruiter. Andrea, she's with us, and she'll be out but you can talk more about that too. And a head of people and talent. We've created an organization to find people. Highway paving historically was a union contractor. We worked in the states of West Virginia, Ohio, Pennsylvania. And honestly, our first venture down south was at Langley Air Force Base back in '05 or '06, I can't remember now. So we had to find people that way. And again, it wasn't that hard, but it's gotten really hard because I don't know if you've seen this in Wall Street Journal the other day was nobody wants to work 2020. Nobody wants to work 1980, you know, nobody wants to work 1960, 1890, nobody wants to work. Well, people want to work. You got to go find them, right? And you have to pay accordingly, too. I mean, maybe it's, you know, the days of a $15 an hour labor, it's gone. And the other thing, the stigma in construction for a long time, which I might have been part of this too, growing up, it's like, I always worked construction as a kid. I come home all dirty and all that. My dad's like, you want to do this rest of your life? I'm like, well, I don't think so, you know, but here I am. But, but I got a little education, I got to learn it, but so went to college and all that stuff. But however, I have several superintendents, project managers, engineers, office folks that didn't have a college degree. They went to a trade school, or they went to the training facility, the union, whatever, and learned a trade. And these guys make great money, and gals make great money. And I really find, and I think there's a big opportunity for more women in industry and construction. I really feel that way. It's an untapped resource, and we'd like to see more of that in our industry. And as for DBEs, it's, again, word of mouth, relationships. Hey, did you work with this guy before, or gal? Yeah, they're pretty good. Okay, let's give them a shot. And Highway's a pretty easy company to work with. We generally help out as much as we can, and as much as we're allowed to, right? We can't go do all the work for you, but hey, if you need a backhoe for a day or two or something, yeah, we'll help you out with that kind of thing. And we won't let you fail. We're always about bringing, you know, high tides raise many boats, and that's what we're about. And that's why we're here doing this too as well.
Well, thank you for that. And I know today on today's panel you've learned a lot, but I want Nancy to put a bow on it. Nancy's actually, she's refiring. We're not saying retiring, she's refiring. So Nancy, as you begin to refire, what advice would you give this room of small business owners, primes? What advice would you give them in this industry?
Well, let me start with the small businesses because one thing I think is really, really, really important, because I'm a tiny little business, I'm me, and you know, at points, as I've had my business for many years, I've had maybe 2 or 3 employees. But one of the things that I've always done as a businesswoman is I've teamed with other companies to go after big projects. And we won them. And the quality of our work is often way better than some of the things I've seen as the 2 or 3 times I've been a subcontractor, because I have rarely been a subcontractor. And I say that to say this. Don't limit yourself to being a subcontractor. If you have a special skill, you have others who are like thinkers, who have the integrity, the creativity, the perseverance, the wherewithal, go after things as prime contractors. Because it might be a small $20,000 project, and y'all all make, in the beginning, may make $5,000, but people learn your work. They know your integrity. Deliver when you say you're going to deliver. Be on time. Those kinds of things, I think, you know, from a small business perspective. And also take care of your business, because a lot of people are in business, but they don't take care of their business. You got to take care of your business, your bank accounts, your, you know, invoicing. All of those things are important to help you grow and prosper. And I think, you know, from the perspective, you know, having worked with both large and small companies and airports, you know, everybody has said it about networking, but I also think that some of the larger companies you have to reach beyond the people that you work with for 10 or 20 years. There's a lot of companies out here that you may not have tapped into. This event is a perfect way to do that, to give others opportunities, because, you know, as I've worked in the airport industry for a very long time, longer than I care to tell people, I've noticed that, you know, a lot of the prime contractors, they use the same firms over and over and over and never give others an opportunity. And I think we need to get past that. I also think that in that engagement of each other, don't just think about someone's certification, that DBE, that they got a DBE certification. Hire the companies, and you companies think of yourselves more than a DBE, because you're not a DBE, you are a business owner, and working together to get beyond that certification only. I know, you know, primes have to meet those goals, you know, for the airports, but hire others, just like you hire anybody else, not just because they're a DBE. So those are the things that I would say, and, you know.
Now, you've heard it all on this panel today. So you can be successful, right? You've got everything from starting your business with Calvin here. Make sure you find him today. Getting your little financing from Chris. She's got that vault, so make sure you follow her all around today. Allison can give you all the details that you need. Once you get started, where do you need to go? Nancy can give you that wisdom you need. And Ed has a project just with your name on it. So as I wrap up today, remember, you are an answer to a problem if you do what? Give me my 3 words. Thank you.
Big shout out, thank you to Angela Booker and her panel for that presentation. I really appreciate that. And again, there are people here going to be here this afternoon. Talk to them. As Angela said, I can't emphasize that enough. That just that where you are in that spectrum in terms of opportunity, interest, understanding, looking for the project, how to work. You had all the players in that whole spectrum. We're here today. We're short for time, but I want to make sure this happens. And we want to talk about our concessions a little bit more. I've got 2 individuals here that I wanted to bring up. I've known both of them for a long time, and they represent our food and beverage and gift and news concessions at the airport. And while we don't have an immediate opportunity, as in an RFP's out for a new project, there's always the opportunity for suppliers, for subcontract roles within our concession program. It's looking at how they're meeting their needs for local products, as we said earlier, as Darryl mentioned, different ideas. Somewhere out here today is either you've got the idea in your head or you know somebody who has the idea for that next concept. Maybe there's a menu. Maybe there's a product. As Darryl mentioned with the hot sauce, maybe you have your own version of that hot sauce. But we've got people here today that their business is to sell that to the airport traveler, and to provide that service to them. So I want to invite Bridget Biagas and James Wilson up to the stage and just to share a few minutes with us about what they're looking for in that next opportunity, and just and how they're outreaching and what they're looking for and their interests, and kind of share that with you. Bridget Biagas is with Product Development. She's a VP at Hudson DeFree, a retail operation. And James Wilson is the Business Development with Delaware North, a food and beverage operation. Welcome both. Bridget.
She's better looking, so she's got to go first. He went first last year. Good morning, everyone. I'm Bridget Villegas. I'm the Vice President for Partner Relations and Business Diversity at Hudson. On behalf of Hudson, I want to offer my sincerest thank you to Chairman Hazard, to the President CEO, Mr. Perry Miller, to Russ and Amy for coordinating, and the rest of the team for coordinating and planning this event today. Russ asked that I speak a little bit about what Hudson and what Hudson looks for in a partner and products. So at Hudson, we pride ourselves on being the traveler's best friend. It's our goal to exceed your expectation when it comes to travel convenience, especially retail, duty-free retail, and food and beverage. We are a subsidiary of Duty-Free, as Russ mentioned, with over 30-plus year history in retail, and with 1,000 stores across airports, major transportation centers, and a number of tourist attractions. But we could not do this without our joint venture partnerships. We have partnered with over 100 local partners, ACDBE partners, like the Richmonds, like here in Richmond, like Rosa and Hugo Owens across North America. And our program is sustainable. We help grow our partners not only in just the areas where they are, but we help grow them beyond their home states. There are a number of ways to get involved with airport concessions, but as we all heard today, the opportunities typically start with certification. I would recommend learning what I call the airport industry's alphabet soup. We've heard DBE and MBE mentioned earlier today. With airport concessions, we refer to our DBE program as the Airport Concessions Disadvantaged Business Enterprises, or ACDBE. ACDBE certification can lead to opportunities to participate as a joint venture partner, be a supplier, provide goods and services, be a licensor, or obtain a subtenancy. Without getting too far into the weeds, the essence of the ACDBE program is to encourage small business development in an effort to redress historical barriers to full participation of women and minorities in the airport industry. Typically, airports have an obligation to establish an annual DBE goal, a participation goal for the entire program, and then it gets dialed down to contract-specific goals, either in retail or food and beverage, and these goals differ from airport to airport, contract to contract, given the varying demographic factors. So how does one become a joint venture partner or supplier or a licensor? I recommend with researching, followed by identifying opportunities and networking. Attend as many outreaches like this event, stakeholder meetings, and participate in industry trade organizations like AMAC and ACI. AMAC actually is an organization that has been created to promote diversity and economic opportunity in the aviation industry by participating in the development of laws, rules, and policies to support and promote the refinement of the federal program. ACI also has a program, a diversity program as well, where they mirror the same things that AMAC does as well. So now that you know a little bit about your airport alphabet soup, how do you get prepared? Last year, I spoke about being ready, willing, and able, and that still stands true this year. So if you want to do business in an airport and you believe that you qualify for the ACDBE program, you get ready. You get ready by getting certified and become familiar with the goals in the program. But you cannot wait until the opportunity presents itself. By the time the opportunity presents itself, it is already too late because oftentimes the certification process takes longer than you have to actually respond to the opportunity. My recommendation is to start early with that process, like now. And then, even though we don't have any identified, but start now with your certification process so that if you're interested in airport work. Once you're ready, you must be willing and able as well. And how do you we're all willing to do more business, but able lends itself to the financial requirements. So in order to participate as a joint venture partner, you can't just be willing, you also have to participate financially in both the risk and the profits of the partnership. And that's where the ABLE comes. We heard earlier about getting financing. Financing is one of the biggest barriers to becoming a joint venture partner. So get that in order. Also, make sure you pay your taxes. Make sure you have all your documents in place, and everything ready to go. My business partners today, Rosa and Hugo Owens, were in fact ready, willing, and able when we called upon them. The joint venture model requires that you have this skin in the game, and they have been prepared to do that in a number of locations, including Richmond. I also recommend that you advocate for yourself, your business. Don't be shy. Network, be bold, get involved in the community. Show us you would add value to our team. I think Allison mentioned earlier that she used her relationships, and so relationships help us help you. And so I encourage you to do that. Please come see me at the table in the next room, and I look forward to speaking with everyone.
Mr. Wilson, please come on up.
Good morning. I realize that I'm the one who stands now between you and the opportunity to have meaningful conversations, so I'm going to be relatively brief. And given the fact that I am pinch hitting today, my ACDB partner and I were coming up here we just happen to live in Central Florida, nearby each other. But we were on our way up here. I took an earlier flight. 1 hour into my flight, the airport announced that they were closing this afternoon. So he stayed on the ground, he stayed home, and I'm here. That's why I'm here today. Delaware North is a family-owned business. It's over 100 years old, and we participate in a number of different venues. We do sports venues, we do gaming, we do a number of park service contracts, and we also own a building that some of you may be familiar with. It's called the TD Garden, where the Boston Bruins play. The company owns the Boston Bruins, among a few things that we do. Because our ownership is an American-based company and they understand how they got started, they are very well steeped in the thought process of having local participation in every one of the businesses that we do. And we get the pleasure of participating in the Richmond area, as in many airports, because of the ACDB participation program. Our partner here is Superior Hospitality Group. Tyrone Nabby is the president of that group. He's been in partnership with us now for 10 years. Yes, Nancy, we do use some of our partners over and over again. But because of that relationship, we now have Tyrone in 5 different airports with us, and we are constantly reaching out to a number of different airports and different people in those airports. We partner our long-term partners with new individuals, so we're bringing new people to the table every time we go after new opportunity. The FAA program, basically 3 ways that we can provide participation in this program. That's through subleasing, which we do a fair amount of in the Atlanta airport. We do a number of joint ventures like we do with Tyrone here. And we also do a bunch of goods and services that we purchase. Give me a moment. I'm going to talk a little bit about what we have done here in the Richmond area at the insistence of Mr. Miller. He said, you guys need to do a little bit more, and we've done a little bit more. We've gone out and found a number of people in the local community that we can help, that we can work with at this particular airport. Among those are companies like A.R. Sudden Honey, but most importantly, I want to mention the fact that we are about to make a major announcement with Ironclad. And the president of Ironclad's here with us. And we will be doing some changes in the airport, and you will see the name Ironclad over and over again, and we'll sell a lot of coffee. We'll sell a lot of coffee. Without going over all of the details of the ACDB program, what Bridget said is very important. It's important that you get yourself certified because it opens other doors for you. And that certification brings you to the table with things like Darrell was talking about, the opportunity to do things, different things that you've not done before. We're constantly looking for new and different food and retail concepts. We're looking for people to do grease and trash removal. We're looking for janitorial services. These are all the things that we need to keep our business running on a day-to-day basis. We buy our uniforms from local suppliers. We buy cleaning supplies all over the place. So these are the kinds of goods, services like equipment repair and rentals are things that we are constantly looking for. And as we go through each and every one of our existing contracts, the opportunities may present themselves to be there. So again, document, 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 get your certification. Feel free to come up and talk to us about potential new opportunities in the future. Russ?
I wanted to keep that brief because I wanted to maximize the opportunity you guys are going to have next door with them, with Bridget, her team, and James and his team. And again, congratulations to our Ironclad soon-to-be vendor in the airport. That's good news. The network hall next door is about ready to open, and we invite you all to partake on that as long as you can, well, up until 1 o'clock. Then they're going to throw us out. But we do have, again, another unique event next door, and that's going to be through the Small Business Administration. We'll be conducting an abbreviated seminar on small business lending and bonding issues. So if that is in your area of interest, something you've been talking about, thinking about, you heard it talked about on the panel as a potential, as is a barrier to entry sometimes, and in some occasions, we've got Ford Scott with the SBA will be next door, and I believe Chris Hairston White will be with him as well on a small, short 30-minute seminar. You don't have to go to it if you don't want to, but it is for your benefit. And if you wanted to maximize your networking, you obviously can do that and then we'll come back. But choice is yours. But with that, last thing I want to say before we close out is the airport commission. You heard about what we're doing, a little taste of the opportunities. But the secret is the airport community at large and the concessionaires, the airlines, the people you see on this board here, the company logos, government agencies. They're all buying something here. They're all using the local community in some extent, whether it's labor or it's, as James said, buying cleaning supplies. And where you are in your business, again, who you know, what you wanted to do, and as Darrell mentioned, how you may want to reevaluate what you're doing, how you kind of go in a little different direction. It's up to you. But again, there's a lot of neat opportunities here, and you don't often hear about them. But this, as I said earlier, this is our second annual event. We're going to keep doing this. We're going to keep talking to you guys, if not annually, more frequent basis, to remind you how to work at the airport, how to do things at the airport, how to handle bids, what we can do as far as coordinate, provide the right agencies to provide assistance, to just make sure that you guys get an opportunity and you're aware of what's coming up, how to engage with us, who we are, and again, it comes back to, do you want to do it? We look forward to seeing you guys out in the networking hall. If at any time you have any questions or concerns, hopefully you have a copy of this booklet, and that's your guide to reach out to us. And so we really look forward to meeting with you all, hearing about you. And again, if anytime you have questions and you want to know, I forgot that guy in custodial or maintenance, or call me, email me. I'm in this booklet, and I'll be happy to refer you to the right person or in cases of resources. So with that, I really, really appreciate you all taking the time today to come out and spend a couple hours with us, and we'll see you again. Thank you. is a drawing, so make sure you hang out in the network hall because we have a few things to give away.